The space station called Helix 9 floated in the darkness between stars. It was a busy place. Thousands of aliens from hundreds of different worlds lived and worked there. They came to trade, to rest, and to find work. The station never slept. There was always noise, always movement, always life. In the center of the station was a large eating hall. The aliens called it the mess hall. It had long metal tables and hard metal chairs. The food came from machines on the walls. It was not good food, but it was hot and it filled the belly. Every day, workers and soldiers and traders came here to eat and drink and talk. On this day, the mess hall was very loud. At the biggest table in the middle of the room sat a massive creature. His name was Groltak. He was a Varax, and the Varax were known across the galaxy as fierce warriors. Groltak stood 8 feet tall. His skin was covered in thick green scales. He had 4 arms, each one ending in a fist the size of a human head. His eyes were red like blood, and when he smiled, his mouth showed rows of sharp teeth. Groltak was drunk. He had been drinking the strong black ale that his people loved. And when Groltak drank, he liked to talk. He liked to talk about himself. 200, he roared. His voice was so loud that the plates on nearby tables rattled. 200 kills. 200 enemies who thought they could stand against me. 200 fools who are now dead. The aliens around him made sounds of approval. Some clapped their hands or tentacles or claws. Others raised their drinks in his direction. Groltak loved this. He loved the attention. He loved the fear he saw in their eyes. I fought in 12 campaigns, he continued. He stood up from his chair, and his massive body blocked the light. I killed the Sand Warriors of Proxima. I broke the spine of the Hive Queen of Sector 7. I crushed the rebellion on Kilos Prime with my bare hands. He held up all 4 of his fists. These hands have ended more lives than most of you will ever meet. A small insect-like alien raised a thin arm. Great Groltak, it said in a high voice. Surely you are the greatest warrior on this station. Groltak laughed. It was not a nice laugh. On this station? Little bug, I am the greatest warrior in this entire sector. Perhaps in this entire arm of the galaxy. No one can match my record. No one can match my skill. I am death itself. He looked around the room, his red eyes moving slowly from face to face. He was looking for someone to challenge him. He wanted someone to argue. He wanted a reason to show his power. His eyes stopped on a figure in the corner of the mess hall. It was a human. A female. She was not young. Her hair was black with streaks of gray. Her face had lines from age and hard work. She wore the simple gray uniform of the station's cleaning staff. In her hands, she held a mop. She was cleaning the floor near the waste bins, working slowly and steadily. Her name tag said Park Yuna. Groltak felt a wave of disgust. Humans were everywhere these days. They had spread across the galaxy like insects. They were small, weak, and short-lived. Most aliens did not think much of them. They were good for simple labor, nothing more. You there, Groltak called out. His voice cut through the noise of the mess hall. Human, cleaner, come here. The woman looked up. She did not seem afraid. She did not seem nervous. She simply looked at him with calm, steady eyes. Then she leaned her mop against the wall and walked over to his table. She moved slowly, not because she was scared, but because she was in no hurry. Every step was measured and even. When she reached the table, she stopped and looked up at the massive Varax warrior. Yes, she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. Groltak leaned down. His face was now close to hers. His breath smelled like the black ale he had been drinking. Tell me, little human, do you understand what we are talking about? Do you understand what it means to be a warrior? To take a life? The mess hall had gone quiet. Everyone was watching. Park Yuna did not step back. She did not look away. She just stood there, small and still, like a stone in a river. "I understand," she said. "Ha." Groltak stood up straight again. "You understand nothing. Your species scrubs floors and serves food. You are servants. You are nothing. While warriors like me decide the fate of worlds, you clean up our mess." Some of the aliens laughed. It was nervous laughter, the kind that comes when people do not know what else to do. Park Yuna tilted her head slightly. There was something strange in her eyes. Something that did not match her simple uniform and her old mop and her gray hair. 200 kills, she said softly. That is a good number. The laughter stopped. Groltak blinked. He had expected fear. He had expected anger. He had expected her to apologize and run away. He had not expected this. "What did you say?" he asked. "I said 200 is a good number," Park Yuna repeated. She smiled. It was a small smile, just a slight curve of her lips. But there was something in that smile that made Groltak's scales tighten. Something cold. "Good number?" His voice rose. "It is more than good. It is legendary. It is respectable," the woman said. She nodded once, as if agreeing with herself. "Very respectable." Then she turned around and walked back to her mop. She picked it up and continued cleaning the floor, as if nothing had happened. Groltak stood there, his mouth open, his 4 fists clenched. Around him, the mess hall was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. The great warrior Groltak had been dismissed by a janitor, and he had no idea why that scared him so much. Groltak could not sleep that night. He lay on his sleeping mat in his small room, staring at the metal ceiling above him. His mind kept going back to the same moment. The same words. The same smile. 200 is a good number. What did she mean? Was she mocking him? Was she insulting his honor? Or was there something else? Something he did not understand? He turned on his side. Then he turned on his back. Then he sat up and punched the wall. The metal bent under his fist, but he did not feel better. The human woman was nobody. She was a cleaner. She pushed a mop around the station and emptied trash cans. She was old and small and weak. She should mean nothing to him, but he could not stop thinking about her eyes. When he had leaned close to her face, he had expected to see fear. Every creature feared him. That was the natural order of things. He was big and strong and deadly. He was a killer of 200 enemies. Everyone feared him. But Park Yuna had not been afraid. Her eyes had been calm, steady, patient, like deep water that hides rocks below the surface, like a sky before a storm. There had been no fear in those eyes. There had been something else, something that felt familiar. He had seen that look before. He had seen it in the eyes of old warriors, the ones who had fought in many battles, the ones who had killed so many times that death no longer surprised them. It was the look of someone who knew exactly what violence was and felt no need to prove anything. But that was impossible. She was just a human, just a cleaner. When morning came, Groltak went looking for her. He found her in corridor 7. There had been a small fire the day before. A machine on the wall had broken and made sparks. The sparks had left black marks on the wall. Park Yuna was scrubbing those marks away. With a cloth and a bottle of cleaning liquid, Groltak stopped a few feet away from her. For a moment, he just watched her work. She moved with a steady rhythm. Spray, wipe, spray, wipe. She did not hurry. She did not slow down. She just worked. "Human," he said finally. She did not jump. She did not turn quickly. She simply finished wiping the spots she was working on. Then she looked over her shoulder at him. "Hello," she said. Groltek stepped closer. I want to know what you meant yesterday. In the mess hall, when you said my kills were a good number. Park Yuna turned back to the wall. She sprayed more cleaning liquid on a black mark. I meant what I said. 200 is a good number. It is something to be proud of. Then why did you smile like that? She paused. Her hand stopped moving. For a moment, she was very still. Like what? She asked. Like you knew something I did not. Like you were laughing at me without making a sound. Park Yuna put down her cloth. She turned around fully and looked at him. Really looked at him. Her eyes moved over his face, his scales, his forearms, his massive body. She studied him the way a hunter studies an animal. The way a soldier studies a battlefield. Groltek had been studied before. He had been measured by enemies who wanted to know his weaknesses. But this felt different. This felt like she was looking inside him. Looking at things he had never shown anyone. I was not laughing at you, she said finally. I was remembering. Remembering what? When 200 seemed like a lot to me too. The words hit Groltek like a punch to the chest. He took a step back without meaning to. His red eyes went wide. What are you saying? His voice came out quieter than he wanted. Are you saying you have killed more than 200? Park Yuna picked up her cloth again. She turned back to the wall and started cleaning. I am saying that I am old and tired, she said. I am saying that I push a mop now. I clean floors and walls and bathrooms. That is my job. That is my life. That is not an answer. No, she agreed. It is not. Groltek grabbed her shoulder and turned her around. His claws dug into her uniform. Any other creature would have screamed. Any other creature would have begged for mercy. Park Yuna just looked at his hand on her shoulder. Then she looked at his face. Her expression did not change at all. You should let go of me, she said softly. Something in her voice made Groltek obey. His hand opened by itself. He stepped back. He did not understand why. What were you? He asked. The question came out almost desperate. Before you were a cleaner. What were you? Park Yuna rubbed her shoulder where he had grabbed her. She looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were old. Not just in years. They were old in a way that had nothing to do with age. They were the eyes of someone who had seen too much and carried it all inside. I was tired, she said. I was very, very tired. She picked up her bucket and her cleaning supplies. She started walking down the corridor, away from him. Her footsteps were soft on the metal floor. Wait, Groltek called after her. You did not answer my question. What were you before? She stopped. She did not turn around. I was something that I never want to be again, she said. That is all you need to know. Then she walked away, and Groltek let her go. He stood alone in corridor 7 for a long time. The black marks on the wall were still there, half cleaned. The smell of the cleaning liquid hung in the air. Groltek was afraid. For the first time in many years, he was truly afraid. Not of battle, not of death, not of enemies with weapons and armies. He was afraid of a small human woman with gray hair and tired eyes and a smile that held secrets. And he knew that he would not rest until he found out the truth. Groltek was a warrior, but he was not stupid. He knew that sometimes information was more powerful than strength. Sometimes knowing the truth about an enemy was better than fighting them. So he started to search first. He used his military codes to access the station records. As a decorated soldier of the Varax Dominion, he had clearance to see files that normal workers could not see. He sat at a computer terminal in his room and typed in the name, Park Yuna. The file that came up was almost empty. It showed her name, her species, her age, and her job. Human, 54 years old. Maintenance worker, level 2. She had been on the station for 3 years. She had no problems with her work. She was never late. She did her job well. At the bottom of the file, there was one more line. Previous employment. Classified. Terran Military Command. Groltak stared at that word. Classified. It meant that the information was hidden. It meant that someone did not want people to know. But why would a cleaner have classified military records? He dug deeper. He used codes that he was not supposed to use. He broke into files that were protected. But everywhere he looked, he found the same thing. Walls, locked doors, empty spaces where information should be. The humans were hiding something about Park Una. Something big. Groltak knew a creature who dealt in secrets. His name was Vec, and he was a syndicate information broker. He was small and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes that never stopped moving. He sold information to anyone who could pay. Groltak found him in a dark bar in the lower levels of the station. He dropped a bag of credits on the table. "I need information about a human," he said. "Her name is Park Una. She works in maintenance. Her military records are classified." Vec's eyes went wide when he heard the name. His blue face became even paler. "That name," he said softly. "Where did you hear that name?" "She works on this station. I met her in the mess hall." Vec pushed the bag of credits back across the table. "Keep your money. I will not touch this job." Groltak grabbed Vec by his thin neck. "I did not ask if you wanted to. I told you to find me information." Vec's eyes showed real fear. Not fear of Groltak. Something else. Something deeper. "You do not understand," he whispered. "There are things in this galaxy that even I will not talk about. There are names that I will not speak. That woman, if she is who I think she is, you should walk away. Forget you ever saw her." "Why?" Vec swallowed hard. "The Unification Wars. The Human Civil War. Have you heard of it?" Groltak let go of his neck. "I have heard stories. The humans fought each other for many years. Many died." "Many?" Vec laughed, but there was no humor in it. 2 billion humans died in that war. 2 billion. They tore their own species apart. They bombed their own cities. They poisoned their own planets." He leaned closer. "And the worst of them, the most deadly of them, were the soldiers who fought in the tight spaces. The stations. The ships. The tunnels underground. What does this have to do with the cleaner?" Vec stood up. He looked around the bar to make sure no one was listening. "There was a unit," he said quietly. "A special unit. The humans called them the hallway sweepers. It was a joke name, because they cleaned hallways. They went into spaces where normal soldiers would die. They killed everything inside. Room by room. Door by door. No prisoners. No survivors." Groltak felt cold. "And Park Una? If she is the Park Una I am thinking of, she was not just a member of that unit." Vec's voice dropped to a whisper. "She was their leader. Their sergeant. She led them into places that were impossible to survive. And she always walked out. How many did she kill? No one knows the exact number. The unit's total kills during the war were over 40,000. There were 12 members in the unit." Vec did the math in his head. "You can divide that yourself." Groltak's mind went blank. 40,000 divided by 12. Even if she only got her share, that was more than 3,000. And the war went on for 10 years. And leaders usually killed more than regular soldiers. "That is impossible," he said. "She's just an old woman. She cleans floors." "Now she cleans floors," Vec said. "Now she is old and tired. But before, she was something else. The soldiers who faced her had a name for her. They called her the Silent One, because she never spoke during combat. She just moved through the darkness with her team, and everyone in her path died without hearing a sound. Groltak sat down heavily. His forearms hung loose at his sides. He felt like the world had shifted under his feet. 200 kills. He had been so proud of 200 kills. Park Yuna might have killed more than that in a single month of her war. Why is she here? He asked. Why is she cleaning floors on a station in the middle of nowhere? Vec shook his head. I do not know. Maybe she is hiding. Maybe she's resting. Maybe she just wants to be left alone. He looked at Groltak with serious eyes. And if I were you, I would give her what she wants. I would forget her name. I would never speak to her again. But Groltak knew that he could not do that. He had to talk to her again. He had to understand. Groltak found Park Yuna in the observation deck. It was a large room with a huge window that looked out at the stars. Most of the station was metal and noise and crowds. But this room was quiet. People came here to think, to remember, to be alone with the darkness of space. Park Yuna sat in a chair near the window. She held a small cup of tea in her hands. Steam rose from the cup in thin white lines. She was looking at the stars, but her eyes seemed far away, like she was seeing something that was not there. Groltak walked across the room. His heavy footsteps echoed on the floor. He stopped a few feet away from her. You know why I am here? He said. Park Yuna did not turn around. Yes, you know what I found out. I felt you looking into my past. When you have been hunted as many times as I have, you learn to feel when someone is searching for you. Groltak moved to stand beside her. He looked out at the stars too. They seemed very far away. Very cold. The hallway sweepers, he said. You were one of them. I was their sergeant, Park Yuna said quietly. I led them for 8 years. The information broker said your unit killed over 40,000 enemies. Enemies. Park Yuna's voice was strange when she said the word. Empty. Is that what they were? I suppose that is true. They were trying to kill us. We were trying to kill them. That makes them enemies. Groltak looked at her. How many did you kill? Personally? Park Yuna was quiet for a long time. She took a sip of her tea. She watched the stars. I stopped counting after 3,000, she finally said. That was in year 4 of the war. The war went on for 6 more years after that. Groltak felt his legs go weak. He sat down in a chair next to her. His massive body made the chair creak. 3,000, he said. And then you stopped counting. And then you kept killing for 6 more years. Yes, that is. He could not find the words. That is not possible. No one has killed that many. Park Yuna finally turned to look at him. Her eyes were old. So old. They held more death than Groltak could imagine. More pain than he could understand. The war was not like normal battles, she said. We did not fight on open fields. We did not face armies. We fought in space stations like this one. We fought in ships. We fought in tunnels underground. We would enter a place with 12 people, and we would not leave until everything inside was dead. Why? Because that was the mission. Because people on both sides believed things so strongly that they were willing to die for them, and willing to kill for them. She looked back at the stars. I was very good at killing. It was my talent. Some people can sing. Some people can build. I could kill. And so they pointed me at their enemies, and I did what I was made to do. Groltak thought about his own 200 kills. He remembered each face, each fight, each moment when life left his enemy's eyes. He was proud of those memories. They made him who he was. Do you remember them? He asked. The ones you killed? I remember the first 100 very clearly. I remember their faces when they saw me coming. I remember the sounds they made. Park Yuna's hands tightened around her teacup. After that, they started to blur together. By the time I reached 1,000, I could not tell one from another. They became numbers, statistics, just problems that needed to be solved. That sounds empty. It was. That is the truth about killing, Groltak. The first few times you feel everything. Fear, anger, guilt, excitement. But after enough times you feel nothing. You become a machine. You become a monster. Groltak was quiet. He had never thought about it that way. He had always believed that more kills meant more glory, more honor, more power. Why did you stop? He asked. Why are you here, cleaning floors? Park Yuna set down her teacup. She turned her whole body to face him. For the first time, she looked at him not as a cleaner looking at a warrior. She looked at him as an equal, as someone who understood. I stopped because I looked in a mirror one day and did not know who I was looking at. I had become someone I did not recognize, someone I did not want to be. Her voice was soft but steady. My friends from the war, most of them are dead now. Some died in battle. Some killed themselves after the war ended. Some just faded away. The ones who lived, they carry the weight every day. The weight? The weight of all those deaths. All those lives we took. It never goes away. It just gets heavier and heavier until you cannot stand up anymore. Groltak thought about his own kills again. 200. It seemed like such a small number now. Why do you clean floors? He asked again. Park Yuna smiled. It was a real smile this time. Small and tired, but real. Because it is simple, she said. Because when I clean a floor, it is dirty before and clean after. I can see what I have done. I can point to something and say, I made that better. No one dies. No one suffers. I just make things a little cleaner than they were before. But you were a legend. A warrior. A leader. Yes, and legends do not get to rest. Legends do not get to have peace. People always want more from legends. More fighting. More killing. More blood. She shook her head. I did not want that anymore. I wanted to be small and quiet and forgotten. I wanted to be a person again, not a monster. Groltak sat in silence. He looked at this old woman with her gray hair and her teacup and her tired eyes. He saw the warrior she had been, the killer, the leader of the most deadly unit in human history. And he saw the woman she was now, the cleaner, the one who chose peace. He did not know which one was braver. Your 200 kills, Park Yuna said gently. I was not mocking them. I was envious. Envious? Why? Because you can still remember them. You can still see their faces. You can still feel something when you think about them. She looked at her hands. I cannot. They are all gone. Just empty space where memories should be. And that is the price of becoming what I became. The stars outside the window seemed to glow a little brighter. The silence between them felt heavy but not uncomfortable. Groltak understood now. He finally understood. The next morning, the mess hall was busy as always. Aliens of many different species sat at the long metal tables, eating their breakfast and talking in a dozen languages. The smell of food and drink filled the air. Everything was normal. Park Yuna was there too. She pushed her mop across the floor near the same table where Groltak had boasted about his kills just a few days ago. She moved slowly and steadily, the same way she always did. Spray, mop, spray, mop. Her gray hair was tied back from her face. Her eyes were calm. The door of the mess hall opened. Groltak walked in. The room went quiet. Everyone remembered what had happened before. The boasting, the challenge, the strange smile from the human cleaner. They watched as the massive Varax warrior walked across the room toward the old woman with the mop. Park Yuna did not look up. She just kept mopping. Groltak stopped a few feet away from her. He stood there for a moment, his forearms hanging at his sides. He looked different somehow. Smaller, even though he was still 8 feet tall. Quieter. "I told them," he said. "Last night. I told everyone what I learned about you." Park Yuna still did not stop mopping. "I thought you might." They did not believe me. They laughed. Groltak's voice was not angry. It was almost sad. They said it was impossible. A human cleaner more dangerous than a Varax champion. They thought I was making a joke. "That is probably for the best," Park Yuna said. "But I know." Groltak lowered his massive body. He bent his knees until his red eyes were level with hers. "I know what you are. I know what you were. And I wanted to say something." Park Yuna finally stopped mopping. She looked at him. Her eyes were still calm, still patient. But there was something new in them too. Something like curiosity. "What do you want to say?" she asked. "I understand now. Why you smiled. Do you? You were not mocking me. You were not insulting my honor." Groltak's voice was very quiet now. "You were remembering. You were remembering when 200 seemed like a lot. When killing still had meaning." Park Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "You are smarter than you look, Groltak." He made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I also wanted to ask you something." "Ask." Groltak hesitated. For a warrior who had killed 200 enemies, who had never shown fear in battle, he suddenly looked uncertain. Like a child asking for something he was not sure he deserved. "Would you teach me?" he asked. Park Yuna tilted her head. "Teach you what? To fight? To kill? I think you already know how to do those things." "No." Groltak shook his head. "Teach me to stop." The mess hall was completely silent now. Every alien in the room was watching. They did not understand what was happening, but they could feel that it was important. "I have been a warrior my whole life," Groltak continued. "It is the only thing I know. It is the only thing I am good at. But I am getting older. My scales are not as strong as they used to be. My arms are not as fast. One day, someone younger and stronger will come along, and I will die on some forgotten battlefield, and no one will remember my name." He paused. His red eyes looked lost. "I do not want that," he said. "I do not want to be a legend. I do not want to be remembered as a killer. I want. He could not find the words. Park Yuna found them for him. "You want to learn how to be something else." "Yes." The word came out like a breath he had been holding for years. "Yes, I want to be something else. Something more than what I am." Park Yuna looked at him for a long time. She studied his face, his eyes, the way he held himself. She saw the warrior who had boasted about his kills. She saw the frightened creature who had followed her through corridors. She saw the broken soul who was asking for help. Then she reached into her cleaning cart and pulled out a second mop. She held it out to him. "Corridor 12 needs cleaning," she said. "There is still carbon scoring on the walls from the fire. The trick is to let the cleaning liquid sit for 30 seconds before you scrub. Not 20. Not 40. 30 exactly." Groltak looked at the mop. It was small in his massive hands. It looked almost silly. A weapon of the great warrior Groltak reduced to this, but he took it. "This is your lesson?" he asked. "This is the first lesson," Park Yuna said. "The most important one. What is it?" She smiled. And this time, the smile reached her eyes. It was warm. It was real. It was the smile of someone who had found peace after a lifetime of war. "The lesson is that every job worth doing is worth doing right," she said. "And that there is more honor in building something clean than in leaving behind a trail of bodies. She picked up her own mop and started walking toward the door. "Come on," she called over her shoulder. "We have a lot of floors to cover. And you have a lot to learn." Groltak followed. Behind them, the mess hall watched in stunned silence. The most feared warrior in the sector walked away with a mop over his shoulder. He followed a small human woman with gray hair and tired eyes. A woman who had once been a monster and had chosen to become something else. Something better. Some of the aliens whispered to each other. Some shook their heads in confusion. Some laughed nervously, still not sure what they had seen. But a few of them understood. A few of them looked at the retreating figures with something like hope in their eyes. Because if a killer of thousands could learn to clean floors, if a warrior of 200 could learn to put down his weapons, then maybe there was hope for all of them. Maybe it was never too late to become something new. Park. Yuna and Groltak walked down corridor 12. She showed him how to spray the cleaning liquid. She showed him how to wait for 30 seconds. She showed him how to scrub in slow, even strokes. He was not good at it. His massive hands kept breaking the mop handle. His claws scratched the walls instead of cleaning them. He got frustrated. He wanted to give up, but Park Yuna was patient. She fixed his grip. She gave him a stronger mop. She showed him again and again until he started to understand. "Why are you helping me?" Groltak asked as they worked. Park Yuna looked at him with those old, tired eyes. "Because someone helped me once," she said. "When I wanted to stop being a monster, someone showed me how. Now I'm showing you. Who helped you?" "A friend. His name was Han Ji-woo. He was a medic in my unit. After the war, he opened a small restaurant. He made soup for people who had nowhere else to go." She smiled at the memory. "He died a few years ago. But before he died, he was happy. He was at peace. That is what I want for myself. That is what I want for you." Groltak thought about this. He had never had a friend like that. He had never known anyone who gave up power for peace. "Thank you," he said quietly. Park Yuna nodded. "You can thank me by learning to mop properly. You are still holding it wrong." Groltak looked at his hands. She was right. He adjusted his grip and tried again. This time, the floor came out a little cleaner. It was not much. It was just a small patch of clean floor in a corridor that no one cared about. But it was a start. And sometimes a start was all you needed.